Okay, so welcome Yolanda and welcome everybody else. Respectfully, we'll ask if everybody can silence their mics until the end, and then we'll open up the floor for questions for Miss Yolanda Ross. And Yolanda, thank you so much for joining us again.
I know, it was a pleasure. I was literally thinking about when I came up there last time, and I had never been in Kingston proper, and it was a lot of fun. You guys, y'all took me to some good places.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. You know, it's funny because just before we get going on that, so many people have left New York City
Mm.
and moved up here. That Kingston is number one in the search for homes on Zoom. And this was, I think, just in the
Wow.
New York Times, and our real estate market has jumped 117%.
Jeez,
I
dude.
know. You see, you should have bought last summer when
I
you were
know.
here.
Well, I know. I did see some cute places though. I mean, it was it was just really cozy and some really nice restaurants. So
Yeah, we had a good time.
yeah, we definitely had
We
a
had a
good
good
time.
time. But so thank you for coming. And also, of course, last time it was the hottest day of the year. And it was very funny because it was so hot up here and hot for us that we had restaurants close because it was so warm. And you were like,
We,
really? This is not hot. You ever been to New Orleans? This isn't hot. And
yeah, no, I know. Wait, yeah, because that one place, the rooftop, we wanted to hang out up
yes,
there, and
yes.
they had it was closed up
Yeah,
there. So
exactly, exactly.
wow, yeah.
So thank you. There's always, it's always something fun with us. Um, but thank you, and there's so many things. I mean, we touched on so many things last time, and I'm not going to, go over your full background again or anything like that. I would encourage everyone to Google you and, watch your reel because you are just mind blowing. I mean,
Thank you.
genuinely mind blowing as an actress and what you're creating. But there are things that you said to me that still resonate
Hmm.
with me. And especially now. And so it's interesting. So you and I have touched base a couple of times throughout the year. We touched base briefly on funding for Black women and Black women's film projects. Then, of course, the pandemic hit. And then you
Yes.
and I touched base also on locations and then here we are today. But something that you told us a story and I hope that you don't mind, but it was on my mind, and then fast forward to everything that's happening. You told us a story about how you were with your sister in LA and you happened to get in the wrong car.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
And so you were, and do you mind sharing your thoughts about that, telling about that story and sharing your thoughts? Because I think that was before, obviously, I mean, that was indicative. Your thoughts at that moment are indicative of something you've obviously seen and known your whole life. But now what's brought to light, do you mind sharing that
Yeah.
story and your thoughts?
Um, so what the story was, I was in LA, and I, live in New York. And so I was out there, I borrowed my sister's car to go to an audition. And it was like, it was getting to be sunset. So I went in, waited a while. The sun had gone down. I went outside, got in her car, and just felt like something was wrong. I looked around, I couldn't tell, like nothing had been taken. There was a bottle of water on the floor, and my sister doesn't drink water really. So I was like, oh shit, I'm in the wrong car. This is not her car. And then I smelled it. I smelled smoke. It wasn't her car. So before I jumped out, I looked around to make sure nobody was around because I'm a Black person in somebody else's car. And I, saw that nobody was outside. I got out, walked, away from the car, and literally my sister's car was two cars down. It was the exact same car, and the key thing opened up this other car, with no problem. So, it's like she bought it at Enterprise during one of their, sales, and that was probably one too. And this little key thing just opened up all the cars that were the same, I guess, maybe. It was just a very scary situation, because if it were the wrong person that saw me getting out of their car, or their car, and it wasn't, it just could have went really, 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 really wrong is all.
And that story obviously has stayed with me. I mean, you told me that
It's funny
over.
that you brought up that one, but that's something that could be just horrible.
Exactly. And I think that right now in our current climate, I think that that's something that is being brought to light more. And I think, and I'm curious about, your take on this, but I think that the reason why it's being brought to light more is that America is now more glued to their laptops than ever because of the pandemic. So whereas with other horrible, horrifying situations such as school shootings and things where, like, briefly people are out of their minds with anger about things then, I hate to say this, but pass because there are other things going on. But I feel like now, with everyone being glued to their screens, that this time this isn't going away. This situation isn't going away, and the light is still continuing to be shown. Would you agree with that?
I agree with that. And I feel like to start it off, I mean, technology itself is why these events are in front of you. Cell phones, because they've been happening since forever,
Right.
the same events.
Right.
Since slavery, they've been happening, same events. Policing was never set up to protect us. I mean, there's still certain laws on the books that say that, we are not really human. We don't really have certain rights that white people have. And like I said, in certain states, those laws are still in the book. So, when you then look to the law to help in situations, it's not there because it was never changed in a lot of places. So that's one thing. But cell phones and capturing this so that then people can see it, what's happening. We're not just saying it happens. It does happen, and here it is. I mean, for me, outside of, like, say, 60s and what we see historically, things that have happened to us, seeing Rodney King in the 90s, that was the first time I remember really seeing something where somebody videotaped it, and you saw it, and it's like, so how did they get off? Like, it doesn't take 6-7 people, cops with guns, to subdue one person. It doesn't take that. Otherwise, you shouldn't have that job if you can't do it, in that way. And then, and since then we've been seeing it repeatedly. And at some point, and I don't know when, because I always understood cops to shoot to stop you, not to kill you. What happened to shooting a limb, a leg, or something, not 12 times in the back, or or in the head, or wherever, where it's just straight killing you. And these people don't have guns because you've already been up on them, but then you still shoot them in the back. I'm sorry, anytime somebody's shot in the back, there's something wrong with that. I mean, the whole thing with all the defunding and, retraining the police and everything is because nobody ever gets in trouble. If police were if they were held to the same, regard that we are, or anybody that's on the other side of their guns, we wouldn't probably be having the same conversation. They just never get in trouble. I mean, I'm here in Nebraska right now, and there was a shooting during protests here in Nebraska. And, white friends of mine said that, there's a white guy that shot a black kid and killed him. They said straight up, yeah, he was a racist. You know, people know that for fact.
Right.
So our you know, guy over the cops and whatever made no charges. No charges. Not even not having a permit for a gun. Like, you don't even give us the smallest thing that is against the law that this guy did. So this is the kind of situation, no charges. And so then it went to a grand jury. The grand jury then found him guilty. His lawyer told him to leave town. I don't know of that ever being something that is supposed to happen.
Well, no, there should be a bench warrant for his arrest then. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I may not be a cop. I've played one on TV.
Yeah, you can actually say that.
So, yeah, and it's just like, so why aren't multiple people in trouble right now? And then the next thing we hear is that he killed himself in Oregon.
Wow.
Nobody has a death certificate.
Oh, okay.
So,
yeah.
Until that's shown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the power of social media is what you're saying with phones, and I do think that that the
well,
power,
I mean, that's how we got now Brianna's transcripts out.
Right, exactly,
You know?
because you can reach so many people in such a short amount of time. And I think that there is, whereas maybe in smaller communities, there might have been, a smaller group of people calling for justice, and maybe local authorities might be able to ignore that. When you have a national outcry regarding things like that, and you have footage and it's much harder to ignore. But that's exactly why your story, because it's something that, it's like I read something where a man was getting in an elevator and he heard footsteps behind him but couldn't see somebody, and he got in the elevator and he just was like on edge. And it only, like, for whatever the reason, dawned on him that that's maybe how women, feel, always looking over their shoulder, or always, and it takes sometimes, often too much, for people to be able to empathize. I'm not even going to say sympathize. I'm going to say empathize with how other people feel.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a good example of what you just said. Women. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've walked down the street in New York, and it's just like, you're just chilling. It's a beautiful night, and you just sort of sometimes spacing out, and it's like, oh, wait. I gotta pay attention, because I can't have somebody just walking up on me, and
absolutely
doing something.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, no, these are things that we as women, and, you as a Black woman, in your story, as I said, stuck with me. And then, here we are. So thank you for sharing that, because it's obviously been on my mind.
Yeah, you remembered it. Yeah.
I did. So let's touch on a little bit of maybe The Stranger Inside. So you recently had a little reunion.
Yeah, we had a reunion. Yeah, that was such like a shock. Outfest screened it, and it had been 20 years since we made it. Next year will be like 20 years of it, being out on HBO, and that was crazy, because it's really one of those things where I still get recognized for. I actually, that's what people know me from. That, then Antoine Fisher, and then The Chi. And it's like, that was my first part, like my first major part. It was my first film ever. And so thankful for it. And it put me in front of people in a certain way that I think it just set the bar for what I do. It let people know what I do.
Yeah, well, what you do is disappear into character.
Yeah.
There are certain actors that, as good as they are, when you're watching the movie, they're still there's still an element that you look at them and you still
Mm,
know that it's them. And you just have the gift of melting so effortlessly into
thank
whomever
you.
you're playing. It's just, it's such a gift that you have.
Thank you.
Well,
I love it. I mean, that's what I feel I do. I feel like those characters really just use me as a vessel,
hmm
but they really do come alive.
hmm
And I welcome everything that they give me, that they put into me. So,
well, it
you know.
emanates through your pores. Um, so I have taken notes. I hope you don't mind because last time I just, we spoke extemporaneously, but I wanted to make sure um, that I mentioned little things. This isn't what I
Well,
was
wait, I'll
actually.
just say
Yes,
this with Stranger
please.
Inside. There is
Yeah,
going
because
to
I
be
want
a
to keep
big,
on that.
yeah, there's going to be a big thing next year for it. I know Cheryl Dunye, who directed it, she's
hmm
getting everybody back together. And I don't know what we're planning to do, but there's, something in the works for next year when it is the actual 20 years of it being released.
Well, one of the things that you guys very briefly touched on was it being the precursor to Orange is the New Black.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it was.
Next year is the 20th release of the movie, and
Yeah.
how it really kind of set the tone and set the bar for other things that would come later.
Yeah, it definitely did. It was it was pretty amazing to be a part of that when we did it. I mean, it's funny because we were talking earlier and you brought up Orange is the New Black, and that's great and all, but this film was many years before that. And
hmm
it was women in prison with extreme storyline, great acting.
Of
And
course.
no, but it meant so much to me to be a part of it.
hmm
And and like I was saying before, it set the tone for what I do,
hmm
in this industry, and
hmm
what people expect of me, which
hmm
I am so thankful for the part and the role of Treasure. So
hmm
it was before there was all the what do you call it, us talking online and all of
hmm
that.
hmm
Any of, like, none of that was around. We
Right.
barely had magazines that would cover things that people of color did.
hmm
And so you have a great movie that is really a word of mouth film, because there
Right.
wasn't a whole bunch of publicity done on it either. People didn't know if it was like the female version of Oz. It
Right.
was it was just a film.
hmm
So HBO at the time had done 3 films, not TV movies, but films.
hmm
Kind of like they had an independent film division, and it was, I think it was the first or second of that group of films, and then the next one was like Real Women Have Curves, which
hmm
did much better in certain regards. But people know me from Stranger Inside.
Right.
It is Stranger Inside, Antoine Fisher, and The Shy. Those are the ones people know. And for this to be my first film ever, and it still resonate to people,
Right.
uh, is great. This 20th anniversary of making it that we just had on Outfest, where they played it
Right.
and streamed it for a couple of weeks. It was like people were losing their minds over it because
Right.
it's not streaming anywhere. It hasn't streamed ever. I don't know what HBO is doing with it, but it's just been sitting.
Right.
And it
I would
was amazing to
expect,
see it.
well, I would expect that with the 20th anniversary, that it will reach
I hope so.
a whole new audience.
I hope so. Yeah, I hope there's a big thing done on it, because also, the whole LGBTQ
hmm
um, world and family. It's just like, that movie is at the forefront of
Right.
that community.
Right.
So
Right.
to not have it recognized, it sucks. but
Yeah,
people
I
know it.
think that that's all going to change next year. I feel very
I hope so.
confident that that will all change next year. And as Cheryl said,
Oh no, what'd she say?
at this moment, it's a little easier, but it's still not easy. That was, so basically a quote from her from your reunion. And
Hmm.
I think that that really touches on so many of the characters from that film,
Yeah.
where they are today, how far that you guys have come in
Hmm.
terms of bringing that to the front, because you were, as you said, at the forefront with so many representing
Hmm.
so many people. So it's a little easier, but still not easy. I thought that was a great quote.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's a quote that could just keep going on and on in this business because
Absolutely.
equality is not, you know, a mainstay in our industry.
Well, absolutely. And that brings me, the wonderful thing about the pandemic is that you've really been out there. So I had a lot to catch up on. But it's great because it really is, it's wonderful because I really love speaking genuinely with you about
Uh-huh.
this stuff. I mean, as you
Me
can tell
too.
with what I led with, because when you and I speak, when people speak in general, I listen and it percolates, you
Hmm.
know? So I love to be able to revisit stuff with you and talk about this with you. And before we go off that topic, I
Uh-oh.
just have one other question. Okay, and
Uh-huh.
this is more of like a kind of question. So the women from the Manson cult were
Yeah.
in that prison that
Yeah,
you
I met
guys
two of
shot
them.
in.
Hmm.
So, I mean, obviously, it was interesting to me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood,
Yeah.
just to talk about that movie briefly, even though I know that, their loss, you weren't in it, but just to something that's interesting to me is obviously the crimes of the Manson family were so heinous.
Hmm.
Um, and yet there were people who were saying that the violence that was portrayed at the end against those people was too much. I don't know. I think that what they did was really horrendous, horrific, and just beyond. So when you met these two women who were part of the Manson family, may I ask what they were like?
It was so funny because we were in a maximum well, maybe it wasn't a maximum. It was definitely a long-term, jail, prison because, women were lifers there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I mean, there were just older women. Um,
Yeah.
Sunny, no, Sunny Squeaky from, that's one of their names. I believe that's the one that I'm thinking of. Um, she had a kind of, she had beautiful long hair, it was all gray. Um, but just sort of I don't know how to explain it, just had like a kind of perky-ish kind of, um, I don't know. I can't even get it out. I can't even get it out.
Yeah.
But she definitely had an aura around her of
Uh-huh.
something quite not quite there, but there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to
Yeah.
explain it exactly.
Yeah.
The other one was just, and I don't remember her name at all, but she just talked to me about these things that, because I was getting a bag made. The women inside would make pieces of art from
Mhm.
gourds. And,
Mhm.
I was telling her what I wanted on it, and she just was just nice. I didn't ask her anything about,
Yeah,
what
no.
what she'd been through or not
Yeah.
anything, but I do have like a purse made from a gourd that she made. So,
It's interesting because, obviously one wonders about remorse in situations, you know.
Yeah.
And I know that this, I know that we're going down a different path, but just in my mind, remorse and
Well, I mean, I think
atoning.
anybody be wondering about that. Because I mean, I
Yeah,
know, I've seen all that Manson stuff like a million times because it
yeah,
fascinates me, these horrific crimes. And what were these people thinking? Were they super high?
right,
How did they get so like locked into him and just all these things?
right,
And what you did to this woman, her pregnant woman, the other people there, and just all this stuff.
right,
um and now y'all are in here forever.
right.
And yeah, I do wonder. I wondered
Yeah,
then,
yeah. And
but then again,
something,
a lot of those women in there were just in there for long, I don't know, you don't know their crimes, but
right, of
they're in there for
course.
life as well. So
Right, of course. And that's something that's interesting also is because, you were in there and you were speaking with these women, and obviously these are two infamous women.
yeah.
So naturally, even though I think that so many people, when seeing Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I think that we're so removed from that time period now that it really was the first time that a lot of people even heard of that. But
Hmm.
obviously, the story that you were looking to tell wasn't anything of infamous
Yeah.
nature. It was your, what is, more usual, if
Hmm.
you will.
And we went to a long-term prison, and we went to a short-term prison downtown
Mhm.
LA. And
Mhm.
to be truthful, what I saw in the short-term prison terrified me over the long term. Long term, you still get to go outside. You have some sort of semblance of a regular life, sort of.
Mhm.
Short term, you are locked in without real light. That was
Mhm.
one thing that I was like, I think would really shrivel me up and
Sure.
really hurt
Sure.
me. And the other thing was, I remember getting off the elevator there, and there was a room. And when we got off the elevator, the women looked at us, and they looked like ghosts. Like they looked like terrified.
Yeah.
And I asked the guard what was that? And they said that was the room where they were getting ready to go up for what's the word for it? When they but this is like their opportunity to get out or get
Oh,
out early.
parole?
Yeah,
Or
that was a parole. They were
okay.
getting ready to go, up to speak.
Wow.
So I mean,
Wow.
there's like a life changing event can happen after they
Sure.
get out of that room. So
Sure. Wow. Oh my God. That makes me, and we probably touched on this a little the last time that we spoke, but things like that. Um, I know that there are places that when I have location scouted,
mhm.
I this much I know is true. Is that the name of the last Charlie Kaufman movie? Okay, so I worked with him. I did some scouting on
I'm
that.
thinking of ending things.
I'm thinking of ending things. Jeez, Louise.
The other one is
Sorry.
the Mark Ruffalo one where he won the Emmy recently. Congratulations, Mark.
So sorry about that. I obviously have not had enough caffeine today. But there were some places that, and thank you, Sonny. There are some places that I went that were really very eerie, and that
Mhm.
even though there were people that no longer occupied the places where I was, when I left there, I still felt them.
Yeah.
How do you, when you leave people like that, like in the short-term facility, or Treasure, how do you, or do you lose the character, or is there always a little bit that kind of stays with you?
Um, sometimes they can take a minute. I would say Treasure stayed with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Treasure stayed with me. Treasure, I think, woke something up in me.
Mhm.
that I had never experienced before, and she's still with me. So
Mhm.
that's one thing. Like as far as the movie, when we were making it and everything, it was the first time I'd ever had someone in me for such a long amount of time.
Mhm.
And there was a point where it was like I guess like the last week we were shooting.
Mhm.
We were those girls, like, or
Mhm.
on set and off, we were those girls.
Mhm.
So there was one weekend right before we finished, I just put on a skirt, and it was, and I looked at myself like, what, like, I was like, oh shit, I think Yolanda's coming back. And it was just, we had rolled as those girls in jail.
Mhm.
So it was like I was coming back, and it was
Mhm.
weird to experience that, like in a really truthful and real way. Like
Mhm.
it was like somebody else was coming back into me, and it was weird, and it was a little sad. It was odd because
Mhm.
it was a whole different experience, like something I had not ever kind of been outside of myself before.
And do you feel that portraying Treasure affected the characters that you would continue to take?
Um, I think what it did was, like, when I said that she really set the bar for
Mhm.
what I do,
Mhm.
uh, I feel like she did open that door.
Mhm.
And what's come after her have been characters that are real people,
Mhm.
people that you might not like, people you might not look at or ever get to know.
Mhm.
But coming through me, they're being seen in a truthful way.
Mhm.
Um, and I'm not putting any kind of slant on them. So you either hate them or like them.
Mhm.
They're just being.
Mhm.
So, with that being said, I feel that's what Treasure was the first to do.
Mhm.
She came through me to show the world, this kind of girl is out there, and
Mhm.
she got feelings.
Mhm.
We all have feelings. And,
Mhm.
maybe she did some foul shit here and there.
Mhm.
But as a child, looking at the reason why, a child trying to get to her mother, you never know why people do things.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
it's take the time. Like, I mean, I get it. We're all in the same world where things move fast. We got to, size people up quickly, but you can't just, look at somebody, know their whole everything, and then respond to them in a way that could be very wrong,
Mhm.
or judge them.
Mhm.
So we do have to listen and pay attention better.
And how do you feel, or do you feel that that ties in at all with the trajectory of Jada on The Shy?
Um, yeah, I mean, Jada's a funny one for me because she's probably the closest to me.
Mhm.
So, speaking about her in that same line of how I'm speaking about the others, I feel like the Jadas in the world are the Black women, the Black single mothers who
Mhm.
got jobs, maybe multiple jobs, have
Mhm.
children that have children, could be looked down upon, like, oh, you didn't need to have that many kids. Oh, you shouldn't have them if you can't take care of them. Oh, well, look, your kids are having kids and da 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 and da da da. It's like, you know what? They're holding it down,
Mhm.
and they're taking care of your kids. They're taking care of this person. They're taking care of that person. They're not doing this. They're not killing. They're not doing that. They're not
Mhm.
on drugs. They're
Mhm.
working
Mhm.
and still handling everything,
Mhm.
alone. They didn't ask for the man to leave. They didn't ask for the man to be a piece of shit or to die or whatever makes them a single mother.
Mhm.
So you might not get to know them, but here she is,
Mhm.
you know.
I- Yeah, I do. I love, again, it just speaks to the realism that you bring to the characters that you play. There's seemingly an innate understanding that you find with each character that you have. There's something within it that it seems like you zone in on, and then it just comes out.
I have always loved people,
Mm-hmm.
human behavior. It's human behavior that I'm very interested in. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do we do things? Where do we come from? What situations got us to here? Who
Mm-hmm.
was raising us that got us to here? What are our beliefs? How do we come to our decisions when we make them?
Mm-hmm.
And it's all of that, then what's on the paper as far as what did the writer write for the character? What are their emotions? So, I've always, I didn't go to school for it, but I've always paid attention to people. And it's a funny thing when you start thinking about characters and writing and everything. It's like people act in the same ways. There's certain ways people do things. And, and this is getting off subject into writing, but it's like, when you write things for characters, people can say like, oh, well, I don't want it being like my life and da da da. Well, you know what? You give a character a certain elements that are part of their makeup, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to do these things. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that's just how we work.
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
might be a little curveball here or there, but we all kind of, you give us a certain group of things that are background, it happens,
Right.
elements that are thrown at us. Well, we
Mm-hmm.
do this instead of that,
Mm-hmm.
so
You
yeah.
were part of a Black filmmakers panel, and Dehanza,
Yeah.
is that her name? I really, because you were speaking about writers just now, and how she was speaking about the fact that she's okay with that there might come a point where an actor just knows innately that their character wouldn't say it this way. They'd actually say it that way.
Hmm.
And it seems, are you one that goes by, I guess maybe it depends on, the director, that you're working with, but do you feel that there are times that you're more true to what the character would say, or do you follow script?
Well, I mean, I follow. Yeah, I'm not trying to rewrite other people's words because
Hmm.
that's not what I do.
Right.
But
But as far as being
Plus
true.
it's Lena Waithe. She's amazing. That writer is out of this world. Have you
mhm.
read the shot that her writing? She's gonna blow up. Lena is brilliant. Her
Yeah,
writing. So I can imagine like trying to like reading through it. It's like so real, that you
yeah.
can connect to it instantly. She's amazing. Sorry, I had it. We're talking about writers. I had to say Lena's amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, and hence the shy. There you go. She's native to Chicago, so she knows lingo. And just also to like put it out there, she is the creator of the show. We definitely do have writers as well that do these episodes,
Hmm.
but she's behind all of them.
Hmm.
So, got to give a shout out to all the writers that, come through on our show and all the shows, because it does take a team of people to get a series off the ground and going. But as far as like, like you were saying, how do I come to it? It's if something does make more sense for who the character is that I'm playing, whatever character that is,
Hmm.
I'll definitely say it and let the writer hear that I've said it,
Hmm.
see how they feel, because it's
Yeah.
right, you're right with that. Not everybody wants their words changed, but for the most part, if it makes sense, and sometimes it might not even be a matter of something making sense or not, or sounding
Hmm.
better. Sometimes there are just certain words that do not roll off of your tongue, right?
Yeah,
Like, I know there's
absolutely.
certain things sometimes I just can't say them, like a
Right.
series of words just don't come out right, and I'm just
Right.
going to keep messing them
Right. The
up.
flow.
Yeah. So if
Yeah.
there's something easier to say,
Right.
I'll do that
Right.
and ask if that's cool.
You were also part of something that I thought was really fun.
Yeah.
recently. Yeah. Uh, when you were moderating the questions for the Pierre Cardin.
Oh my gosh,
Um,
those are my people. I call them my gay dads. One of them, produced on Stranger Inside.
mhm,
So it's like we've known each other that long.
mhm.
And I'm in a couple of their documentaries, and uh, I love them. And I also love Pierre Cardin. So that was just fun. That was like this, it was like people just knowing each other and
Yeah.
talking about things, and they're so great to like just kind of flow with. So
And speaking of flowing with it, you were able to get them to give that wonderful tour of their living room.
because their house is amazing.
And you and I before this, before we were recording, were discussing, pants being optional. And and he of course stood up, and beyond the blazer was the shorts. It was just like, it was brilliant. But it was so. I then, of course, because of, I think me a little now, in the way that my mind works, and deep dives. And so there was so much of that interview that was so fascinating to me. So I did a deep dive into your Insta account to find a picture of Pierre Cardin that you said that you posted. And you were talking about a
Is it the one in
javelin.
France?
Yeah,
Oh,
from
the house.
Cannes,
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you
yeah.
were. So I was looking for that. I couldn't find it, but I'm happy to go back. But
It's
so,
way far back, the Javelin. But you should go to their site because they
okay.
have it up. But it was, I don't know, I want to say like maybe it was right before the Shy. Like we
Uh-huh.
were, I was at their house for Modernism Week, and we just rolled in the Javelin everywhere. And the car is amazing. And the only reason I knew of it when they bought it is because in my short, in Breaking Night,
Uh-huh.
I drove a Javelin, and I was like, oh my gosh, you guys got an AMC Javelin. They were like, how did you know what it is? That's what it is. It's like, yeah. And yeah, that's the only reason I knew what the car was.
Well, it's hysterical. I Googled it, after you guys were done talking about it and I was done watching it. I Googled it, and I don't know what I expected, but it's a muscle car.
Yeah.
I
It's a
was just
muscle
like,
car.
what? It's a muscle
It's
car.
amazing. And
Yeah.
inside is very Pierre because it's got kind of his little wavy lines inside.
Uh-huh.
And it's, and he's got his signature on it.
That's
And
brilliant.
that airplane, it just looks like him.
Yeah.
The lines, it's very kind of textile like. It's,
Uh-huh.
I love it. I love what he does.
Well, I look forward to watching that doc.
Yeah.
Because of you, I watched the interview, and I really look forward to watching the documentary as well, because it just, the what I learned from your interview about, and I think that it's a story that so many people know and can empathize with. How he was born in Italy and fled Mussolini to go to
Mm-hmm.
France, and he was persecuted because he wasn't French. And and this is a story that is just told over and over again in history,
Yeah.
and it just goes to show that, whether it's Jada in The Shy or whether it's Pierre Cardin, you can't judge people you don't know their story.
Yeah.
So I really, I look forward to watching that documentary, and I found it so much fun, because of you. So thank you so much for introducing me
Well,
to
thanks for
that.
watching.
Oh,
Yeah, thanks
please.
for tuning in.
Of
There is
course.
Pierre did a lot of things. He was the first to do. Um, the first to use Black models, Asian
Mm-hmm.
models.
Mm-hmm.
I forget where else he went. Russia.
Mm-hmm.
I just he used a lot of women of color that others weren't using,
Right.
and just the way that he presented fashion, and not just uh, you know uh, in the high end way.
Right. The
He
ready
made
to
it
wear
for
line.
women. Yeah, he made
Right.
it ready to wear, and also licensing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's another thing that I wanted to talk
That's
to
what
you
he got
about.
kicked out of. I forget what they call it in France, but it's like a certain kind of, not union, but there's think, for fashion people there,
Mhm.
designers, and he got kicked out because of that.
Well, it's something that I think translates from fashion to the entertainment industry, at least with him. And it seems to me that from the brief amount that I learned, that him holding on to
His
his
name.
name, yes, and not allowing it to be licensed. And I think about, intellectual property in the entertainment industry and how hard it is for people to hold on to their own things because they want to get it out there so badly
Mm-hmm.
that it's, they let go of what is important sometimes,
Yeah, I
because of
mean,
that.
especially like in a case like his, people don't think that Pierre Cardin is a person a lot of times, and
Right,
he is a man that owns his name.
right.
So
At almost 100
everything,
years old.
yeah, he's 98 now. So
Yeah,
yeah, and he just
yeah.
had the premiere for that movie. He got them into France,
Uh-huh.
so and they just had the premiere last week.
That's so amazing. That's so exciting. And let me just say, and we'll wrap this up with fashion.
Okay.
So there is a picture of you at Cannes, and you are in this colorful
Oh
dress,
my
and
gosh.
your hair is wild, and you look stunning, just
Thank you.
radiant. Oh my God, it just brought a smile to my face.
It
You
made me
just,
feel amazing. That was from an African designer, New York
uh-huh,
City, and her name is Kahindo. And
uh-huh.
I saw it because I was like, yo, I'm going to Cannes. I
Yeah,
need
yeah, yeah.
something to wear. And,
Yeah.
and it's got to be easy to travel with.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it just rolled up into a little ball.
Mhm.
And I took it out, shook it out, let it get some air, and went. And just the colors. I made it to Bazaar with that. And I was like one of the 10 best dressed they can last year
Oh, it,
in that
it
outfit.
amazing, amazing, stunning.
Thank you.
Just
So my
literally.
website, I was like, that's got to be the front page picture, because it makes me happy too seeing it.
Oh, yeah. No, you owned that. You just owned that. It was beautiful. So now before we hopped on, Sunny was commenting on your earrings, and I have to say that
Dude, they're like easy.
they are, but whereas like you're stylish, I snuck into my daughter's room and and borrowed these. So and just I have to tell you, you are so effortless in your style. The benefit of watching you through all of these interviews that you've been doing is watching, your styles with everything. And I will say that one of the things that you also brought to my attention the last time we spoke that I just never thought about. Because I personally don't put an awful lot into my hair, my makeup on a daily basis. Like literally, my daughter did this because it's raining in upstate New York. And if you've ever seen the episode of Friends where Monica's hair with the humidity, I think it's a heartbeat, that's kind of me. Um, but I'm watching your different styles and
It's
and
fun.
oh, but you make it look so effortless. And you brought to my attention when we were doing selfies when we were together,
Mm.
and you asked me if you could change the lighting in how the pictures looked. And I was like, fine, because it genuinely doesn't matter to me. And you were showing me. And that's something that never dawned on me. And I think that I would like to think, because as one of your gay dads said, his favorite quote that Pierre Cardin said is, I prefer to like other people. I prefer to think that people don't innately have hate, that people actually just may be ignorant in things, that it just doesn't dawn on them, and it's not that things are not done. And I'm not speaking about obviously heinous things that happen, but just, the fact of you bringing lighting to my attention. It's just nothing that I ever thought about before. But I think about it now. You brought, and I know that we're about to, run over a little, but I have to just touch on this. Sorry, Sunny. Sorry, anybody who's trying to run out the door, but I have to touch on this with you, Yolanda, because you also, things that you said so resonated with me. We were talking about your movie that you're looking to direct, that you finally have producers with. And you were saying to me that, because basically your movie is a slice of life, but that one of the things that you think that people have trouble with is looking at just simple slice of life movies with Black people as leads. So when I watch things now, I literally will think to myself,
where are we?
not just that. Hey, do I like those locations? No, not just that. But how different would this be if the leads were Black? And
White?
I think that
in what you're watching.
in just what I'm watching on television, because of what you were saying with the difficulty with finding funding. And I find myself looking very differently at what I watch and just noticing, how many of these families of these, shows that I'm watching, how many of them are white, are the best friends Black, or what have you. But since we spoke, and it's not like I've grown up in a lily white world. It's not like that. It's like to me, people are people. But the very specific things that you mentioned to me resonated very deeply with me and just make me look at the world differently.
Well, I'm thankful for that. I hope and wish more people in our business did, because, it would make the response of, well, we can't sell you, or you guys don't sell in this part of the world. You don't do this, or you don't do that. It's like we don't do it because nobody puts us out there. It takes money to make a film, and it takes money to promote. So I feel you can sell anything if there's money behind it. I mean, that's how studios used to do it. That's how you get to know people you didn't know before. It's called money and promotion.
Absolutely.
So, if a big company is putting something out and there's faces on it that you don't know, because that company's putting them out, that alone, and if hopefully it's a good movie, people will go see it because it's in front of them. I can truthfully say, I know people are waiting to see what I put out. People are waiting to see me in something worthy of my abilities, because I have not been able to do it, because I've not been hired to do it. And, I can only do the work that I get, So if I have roles that I've written for myself, trust me, they're going to be good, and I know plenty of people, have worked with plenty of people of very high caliber, and
Yes, you
some of
have.
them have given me, the okay to be in my movie. They've given me the word to be in the film. So, I can bring them.
Yeah.
I need the money.
Yeah.
Just
Show me
doing
the
work
money.
for free. Yeah, that's it. So
absolutely. Well, if I had it, it would be yours.
well, if you know somebody with it.
I will certainly ask around, believe me. Yolanda, I want to open up the floor if we have any questions. Sunny, is there anybody with any questions?
Sure.
Oh.
Gina and Kimberly, if you guys want to turn your if you want to turn your videos back on, you can. I just turned them off when the connection was bad. I think it's okay now. Yeah. So anybody, go ahead.
Yeah, I talked to you about wanting to get this book to you, Yolanda. This book.
Hey, I remember you. Yeah, and I remember you talking about the book.
And I have this book. I want to give it to you. I want to send it to you. But I didn't want to be like.
Sunny, can we help with that?
Yeah, we can make arrangements.
Can you?
Well, we can mail it to you, Yolanda.
Okay.
And then
See, it's got some really. Okay, that would be great.
Excellent.
It's a 1940s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Sweethearts of Rhythm. And it was something we talked about, like for maybe for
Yeah.
your big project.
No, I do remember, and it's so cool to see the book. I can't wait to
Excellent.
get into it.
It's a book of poetry and wonderful art, and it's all about. It's written from the point of view of different instruments that these women played.
Oh, really?
So each instrument tells a little story about the people that they played with.
Oh, that's excellent.
It's not people talking about their trumpet,
Instrument
their
playing,
trombone,
talking.
their whatever.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll get into that because I play instruments too. So I want to hear what a trumpet has to say.
So Kimberly has a question. Kimberly is, she just graduated from college with a degree in theater. So she wants to know any advice for an aspiring actor or screenwriter. She's also writing.
Gosh, writing's so hard.
Yeah.
It's good work though. You stick with it. As far as acting, since you're graduated from theater, so
yeah, Trinity New Paltz Theater. Was it theater or was it? I think it was television, film, and media degree that Kimberly has. Right,
well, I
Kim?
will say this. I think it's good to get into the city, getting into a theater company in the city, or anywhere, just to really keep your skills up as far as acting and kind of hearing about other things. And the one good thing about theater and theater companies is most times, you're also looking at the writing. I can know with our theater company, we, because I'm with Labyrinth in New York, and we also write. So there's also using that muscle as well. Definitely moving around to different areas and just kind of looking at other companies' work and seeing what it is you like and what you don't like, what you'd like to be a part of, I think is always good to just know what's out there.
Excellent. All right. Well, we have gone a little bit over, but I think that we've still pretty much kept on time. Yolanda, I cannot thank you enough. You are genuinely one of my favorite people with whom to speak. I can say that.
Yeah, that's so
hard.
sweet. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I mean, I love talking with you and Sunny, and just, you ladies were so great, when I came up there, and I was really hoping to make it back up there. Just so many things happened, and now this has happened. So there'll definitely be a time, and I still want my film to be up there with you. I just hope, people check out my work online, check out my website. I try and keep it up to date, and I'm all on Instagram. That's usually where I'm at posting.
Would you like to give us your addresses, say where people can find you?
Well, on my website is yolandaross.com, and it is YOLONDA. So people sometimes can't find me. No. It's please, you're not the only one. It's like everybody does it here or there, or spell check helps out with that too, messing it up. On Instagram, it is I'm Yolanda Ross _creator, and Twitter and Facebook, it's Yolanda Ross. And coming up, I am actually going to be working with Chicago shops, a designer from Chicago, and her company is called Chic Shop. So
Cool.
We are taking pieces of art pieces that I've done, and I'm going to be, making totes with them, tote bags.
Oh,
that's like,
excellent.
I wanted to. I don't know about you. I love a tote bag, and I wanted to do.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So I wanted to do this for years and just could never kind of get it together. And I loved how this woman, her shirts because I would get T-shirts from her. And since I was in Chicago, part of the Shy, you know, she reached out to me and, you know, gave me some shirts. I was like, who are you? These are amazing. And just the way she advertises them, and you know, Black-owned business. And I just like, I want to do something with you. So, you know, I'm going to work with her and get my totes out. So
Let us know when you do, because we will share that. Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully in time for Christmas.
Yeah,
Yes.
I will definitely buy a bag because I'm like a bad lady. Like I have like
a
5
bad
bags all the
lady. Yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
a tote bag. Yeah, so they're just easy, durable, and you'll have a piece of art too.
Absolutely. Let us know. Keep us posted, because I know that you have a minimum of 2 sold as of tonight.
Okay.
Yolonda, thank you. Please stay well, be safe,
You too.
and I look forward to maybe next time in person.
Definitely. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you. Good night,
Thanks for having
Yolanda.
me. Good night.